Constitution of the Petaluma City School District. And we are going to start with Pledge of Allegiance, led by...
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to just take an opportunity, if anybody's here to speak at public comment, which is going to be slightly down the agenda after special recognitions and presentations. I need one of these from you. You'll find them in the back of the room. It's a yellow speaker card, okay? If you could fill it out before public comment, that'd be very helpful. So we're going to move on to item E, the public hearing. And this public hearing is California School Employees Association, the CSEA, contract reopener. The public hearing will be conducted regarding contract reopeners for a 3-year master contract commencing with the 2013-2014 school year, received from CSEA Chapter 212 and the Petaluma School District. So I'm going to open the public hearing. If there's anybody here to speak about that, you don't need to fill out one of these things. You just go up to the front. So, opening the public hearing, is there anybody here to speak on that subject at all? Seeing no one rise, we're going to close public hearing on that item.
Nothing.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure you didn't have a change of heart there.
No, I didn't have a change of heart.
All right. Item F, the adoption and approval of the agenda. I don't recall hearing anybody ask for any changes, so.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The agenda stands as printed. We'll move over to item G, which is the presentations, special recognitions, kind of the best part of the meeting. The first one is going to be student representatives will make a presentation of the Student of the Month Awards to 2 students from each secondary school in the Petaluma Joint Union High School District for the month of March 2013. I'm going to move over here. So the way that it's going to work logistically is I'm going to ask the student representatives from each school to come up, and as they come up, they will introduce their particular students. Parents, if you'd like, we'd encourage you to go over to that area over there. It's probably the best spot for pictures. If you'd like to do that, feel free to get up and move around. You don't have to. It's also going to be televised, and I'm sure you can get a tape from somebody at Community Access as well. So why don't we start off with Petaluma Junior. Petaluma Junior High School. So introduce yourself first.
Hello, I'm Mario Vasquez, Vice President of Petaluma Junior High School. And I would like to get Christian Silver up here.
Christian Silver. You're the first guy, you're the guinea pig, so here's how we do it. Come right here, you can do it just like that, okay? It's going to be really uncomfortable. We're all going to get a lot of joy out of it, okay?
Christian Silverman has been chosen as the March Student of the Month for Petaluma Junior High School. Teachers are eased by Christian's love of learning and appreciate his intelligence, perseverance, curiosity, and sense of humor. They state Christian is awesome, well-mannered, and humble. He is a hard worker, respectful, dependable, and disciplined, earning a 4.0 GPA while taking accelerated classes. Christian is an honor roll student and has earned the Principal's Renaissance and Gold Awards. Christian is in extracurricular activities with a variety of interests. As a member of the United States Association of Gymnastics, he competes at a national level in team and individual events while training at Cal Star Gymnastics 16 hours per week. Christian exceeds in this field and has won numerous medals and awards as a result. He enjoys spending time with his family and is in the altar minister at church on Sundays. For fun, Christian loves making crafts out of wood, such as archery targets, and then uses them to practice his archery skills with his brother. He loves taking care of his chinchilla as well as the family pets, including pheasants that live in the aviary in the backyard. In addition, Christian enjoys music and plays the clarinet for the honor band at PJHS. Christian's future plans include earning excellent grades and attending a prestigious university. He is like to continue his love of gymnastics and participate at the collegiate level. He is not sure what career he will choose, but is interested in agriculture and working with animals. Christian's proud mother states, Christian is a very intelligent student and thoughtful person. He strives to do the best in school, sports, and gymnastics. He also tries to please everyone, including friends and family, and is always ready to help. He has a bright future ahead of him. Congratulations, Christian.
I also want to take this opportunity to simply acknowledge that Christian's success is obviously in part his family and his friends and his neighbors and his grandparents and his siblings are all part of that. We'd like to acknowledge it. So if you'd rise so we can acknowledge you as well. Christian's family. So Christian, your name will be up on the wall of fame up here. It'll take us a little bit of time, and I know I asked this last time. When do we get this year's group up?
They're working, Woodshop Petaluma High School is building our boards right now, so they'll be at the end of the year.
Oh, very nice. So you'll be up here on the wall, it goes all the way back to 1980 something, and you can come here anytime, we'll give you a key. All right, it's one of the perks.
Abigail Burnett has been chosen as the Student of the Month for Petaluma Junior High School. A bright shining star, Abigail Burnett has been selected as the March Student of the Month at Petaluma Junior High School. Abby is an excellent student, earning a 4.0 GPA while taking accelerated classes. As a result, she is on the honor roll and has earned the Principal's Renaissance and Gold Award. Teachers say Abby's been equally sweet, dignified, and composed. She has high standards, and when she speaks, her comments are well thought out and meaningful. Abby is intelligent and motivated, works well with others, is hardworking, dependable, and has good sense of humor. A well-rounded student, Abby has many interests and hobbies. She plays soccer on the PYSL League and after community basketball, and she also plays for fun with friends. Abby started playing piano at 3 years old, has weekly lessons, and enjoys learning Broadway musicals. Abby also loves to bake. Her father taught her to make scrambled eggs at a young age, and she became hooked on kitchen creations. Her current favorite recipe is cream puffs with chocolate mousse inside. Abby's future plans include continuing to play sports and academically do well in high school. She wants to attend culinary school or major in psychology. Abby is very interested in how human brain works in regard to human behavior and may want to go into research. Abigail's parents say Abby is a very well-rounded individual. She has always excellence academically as well as being compassionate towards others. In grade as no surprise, and she has been working hard. And we think she is great. Abigail's parents are very proud of her daughter. Congratulations, Abby.
And Abby's support group. How about Ken? What's you?
Hello, my name is Garrett Buffo, and I am the ASB president at Kenora Junior High. Kenora Junior High School is pleased to introduce the March Student of the Month, Joseph Chavez. Joseph is an 8th grade student who has worked at Kenilworth to maintain a 4.0 grade point average since the 7th grade. Joseph's favorite subject is science because he enjoys learning how things work, and he also has the opportunity to participate in the different experiments. When Joseph finishes high school, he would like to attend Stanford University to study to be a doctor. According to his teachers, Joseph is a very hardworking young man. He excels in his classwork, and he shows a level of maturity not commonly found in a high school student. Joseph's work attitude and class performance are exceptional. When Joseph is not focusing on his schoolwork, he likes to play basketball and soccer. Joseph says his friends would describe him as an intelligent, athletic, generous, and kind. His parents are extremely proud of all he has accomplished and very pleased at his recognition here tonight. Joseph's effort and motivation will make him successful in whatever he chooses to pursue in life. Congratulations, Joseph. Kenilworth Junior High School is pleased to introduce the March Student of the Month, Julie Janaki.
Congratulations, Julie.
Julie is a delightful and gifted student who has maintained a 4.0 grade point average both years at Kenilworth Junior High School. Julie is a member of our art club this year. Julie is proud of her grades and having to work hard in all of her classes to maintain her 4.0 GPA. Julie's favorite class is science because she is interested in science and the experiments challenge her to do her best. After high school, Julie wants to attend Harvard to earn a degree in the field of science. Julie's teachers describe her as a student with a strong work ethic who puts 100% into all of her work. The students go on to say Julie thinks outside the box, which goes along with her excellent academic qualities. She is a wonderful student to have in the class. Julie's family and friends describe her as intelligent, nice, friendly, and a good person. Julie's parents are proud of her nomination and equally proud of their daughter and her accomplishments both at Kenilworth and outside of school. Julie's ability and attitude will continue to make her a successful person in school and life. Congratulations, Julie.
Julie's family. So I just want to take this opportunity as well to tell the 8th graders that were just here that we're going to have some high school students come up next. And remember I was talking about the Wall of Fame over here and the fact that you're going to be on there and it's going to be there forever. But one day when we were having a meeting here, and it was a long meeting that I probably could have been paying more attention to, but I went through the Wall of Fame. Interestingly, couldn't find myself on it. And interestingly, you only find about a handful of 8th graders that are also on there as 12th graders. So I just take this opportunity to challenge you to listen to this next group that's coming through, to figure out what it is that you guys need to do. I'd love to see you be what we call doughboys up there. So, okay? So let's have the high school up here. Let's go, where did I start? Let's start with Petaluma High School.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brandon Gardner, and I'm ASB president at Petaluma High School. And Petaluma High is pleased to announce our first student of the month for March, Kristen Sybil.
Congratulations, Kristen.
Kristen hasn't always been fond of being in school, but she has always loved learning. First and foremost, she loves stories, and from the time she stole her sister's Harry Potter book when she was in 1st grade, she has been an avid reader. She also writes and hopes to line her walls with rejection slips from publishers one day, as that seems to be the only way to get really good at writing stories. In the meantime, she works hard in school and maintains a 4.31 GPA, and has earned a spot in the top 10 of her senior class. Her favorite classes are literature, where she can read stories and write about them, and psychology, where she can learn about people. She has sung in chamber choir all 4 years of high school, and in Capella choir in this year's Sonoma County Honor Choir, and has studied singing for several years. She's a member of the California Scholarship Federation and the Junior State of America. And she has performed in Petaluma High School's production of Harvey last year. Besides Harvey, she has acted in a number of plays and musicals for Cinnabar Theater and Walking Elephant Theater Company, and has volunteered as a stagehand as well. She has studied acting in the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. She also plays guitar and teaches it to children. She has volunteered to tutor bilingual children and help out in a musical theater workshop for children at cost. Kristen has also been accepted to 3 colleges and is looking forward to exploring studies in literature, creative writing, and psychology in foreign language. She also plans to study abroad, where she can collect stories and learn to tell them in other languages. Thank you, Kristen.
Civil family?
Next student of the month is Andreas Silverman.
Congratulations.
Andreas is a hard-working young man. He strives to succeed in everything he does, from school to work to his sport, gymnastics. Andreas has a solid work ethic and is determined to do the best he can at whatever is given to him. He completes his work to the best of his abilities. Andreas is looking forward to his future as he begins college next year to further his education in the field of environmental sciences and natural resources. He will also be continuing with his gymnastics career in college after completing 12 full years as a competitive gymnast. Andreas' future is bright and he will continue to achieve his goals. Thank you, Andreas.
Should we do it again? I don't think we've ever done that before.
Same meeting?
Not the same meeting.
Not the same meeting.
We'll get you a special place. All right, how about Counselor Jones?
My name is Chris Cole. I'm from Casa Grande Leadership, and our first student of the month is Aaron Nicholson. Erin Nicholson is one of Casa Grande High School's March Students of the Month. She's ranked 14th in her class with a GPA of 4.42 and a cumulative GPA of 4.13. Erin has been in leadership for the past 4 years and is ASB Secretary this year. She has been involved in CASA's peer mentoring and tutoring program since its conception last year, helping underclassmen who are struggling in school. She's also done some math tutoring outside of this program because she excels in math. She has also volunteered with Rebuilding Together Petaluma for the last 7 years to improve the living situations of disadvantaged and disabled Petaluma families. Her community service was her 2-week trip to the Dominican Republic this past summer, where she helped build houses, volunteered at an orphanage, and taught English to her host siblings. Overall, she has over 600 hours of community service. Erin has also been a part of CASA's award-winning academic decathlon team, of which she is now the assistant captain for the last 2 years. In the competition this year, she earned a gold medal for her speech on
Introverts.
Introverts. I'm not sure what that is, but she is Spanish 4 this year and plans to continue taking Spanish classes until she is fluent. She really enjoys this class and has decided that she also wants to become fluent in French because she loves the language so much. Erin is currently learning how to play the guitar, which she always wanted to do. She has participated in her school's JV tennis and track teams, as well as gymnastics and skiing for fun. She loves to read in her free time. Over the summer, Erin got a job at Petaluma Valley Athletic Club in childcare, which she really enjoys. She's unclear of what career she would like to pursue because of a very wide variety of interests, but expects to find direction in college. She applied to 14 schools all over the country and is waiting anxiously to hear back from them.
Mom's taking pictures.
Moms. Okay, the other Casa Grande student's still not here, right?
She's not here.
Not here, okay, so we'll just make sure that we catch that up next time. Okay, very good. So you can see why that's always the best part of the meeting. And I just want to, I guess, just end with, in this particular part of the meeting, so there's 7 of you tonight, representing 7,460 some students in our district. So that's pretty impressive. I hope that you understand that you should be extremely proud of your accomplishments. You know, we do a really good job of celebrating North Coast section football victories and softball and basketball, and I think that we, at least here tonight, need to make sure that we do a really good job of celebrating some pretty scary, smart kids. And I want you to know that, you know, for at least us up here, and I can speak for your teachers and the other 900 or so employees of this district, that, you know, it's accomplishments like this that get people to come to work every day and get people to volunteer to do the things that they do. You should be very proud, and we're very proud of you. And I hope you come back and stare at the wall every once in a while just to remind yourself of the accomplishment. And the 8th graders, I really hope we see you back here in 4 years. Okay? So I'm going to have a real quick report back out from the students, from Petaluma. Okay. You guys got to just kind of back off on the agenda. I'm here. Not my first rodeo. No. We're going to have a report from our students from Petaluma High School and Casa Grande High School, and then after that, we're going to take a real quick break because all you brainiacs need to go back and do some homework. We want you to stay if you'd like to. I'm just going to tell you now, we'd like you to stay if you'd like to. We have important things to discuss, but I will be giving you a real quick break to bolt out at the end of the Petaluma High School and the Casa Grande High School reports, okay? So if I could have Petaluma High up to do their student report, please.
Hi everyone. My name is Casey Page. I'm the Vice President at Petaluma High School. So we have a lot to go over here, so just bear with me. Saturday, the 9th of this month, Petaluma High held their 4th annual Mr. GQ competition, which is a senior fundraiser in which we raised over $3,500, which is really great. So we're hoping that will definitely offset the cost of this year's prom, which is going to be at the gallery in San Francisco. But this production that we hold is a lot more than a fundraiser. It's an opportunity for us as an ASB class and as seniors to sort of connect with the community and connect with our fellow peers. So it's really important that we do this every year. This past Saturday, also on the 9th, the junior class held their very first winter formal dance in lieu of a King of Hearts Valentine's Day dance. So they decided to switch it up a little bit. This was also a fundraiser for prom, but for the junior prom. And they finally decided they were going to have their prom at the Hotel Nico in San Francisco. Dances definitely take a lot of hard work to put in, and everybody who came, I would hope, enjoyed themselves. So that's always exciting. Also in ASB, we've kind of been continuing on to this theme of community service. On Valentine's Day, the ASB president and I, along with the help of some of our other ASB officers, we went to the Petaluma Post-Acute Rehab Center up on B Street. We kind of were there for at least an hour, I'd say, just helping out, visiting the residents there, and we also delivered roses to the staff that day. And we think the reason for that was because we felt the staff was often overlooked, and so we wanted to let them know that they're definitely appreciated, and they were very surprised and very happy that that was done. And this upcoming Friday, we're going to be holding another blood drive in our library. And our goal is to beat the previous number of donors. Last time I believe it was 80 or something, so we're shooting for 90 this time. By the end of the year, because we have done such a good job, the blood drive company is hoping to be able to give a $350 scholarship for one of the senior donors. So we'll see how that goes, and we're hoping for the best. Yesterday, we started our Spirit Week, and we're kind of seeing this resurgence in participation, which is really great. We think it's because sort of ASB is kind of adapting and responding to the changing interests of the student body, so that's a good thing. Yesterday, we had a rally. The theme was Battle of the Sexes, so the girls wore pink and the boys wore blue, and that was fun. Today, we had Pajama Day. I didn't wear my attire because I figured it wasn't formal enough, but today was Pajama Day. Tomorrow is Twin Day. Thursday is what we call Jers Day, so you get to wear your favorite sports team's jersey. And Friday we have Purple Spirit Day. Throughout this week we've been holding dodgeball games, in which Thursday I believe the winners are going to face off against the teachers. So that was sort of a spin-off of our Rowdy Rough volleyball that we did last fall, excuse me. And it's highly successful and kids have a lot of fun. And it's nice to kind of reach out to people who normally wouldn't participate in school activities. So, yeah. And also this semester, Petaluma High has been continuing the Trojan Connections program. And it's sort of focusing on how to teach students to become more conscious of their choices and their impacts on self and others. And last one, I believe we did something on how you present yourself on the internet and how you need to be careful about that. And we're also going to continue to refine it and hopefully get more input from students. Okay, lastly, we also wanted to report on the progress of our Algebra 1 Restart class. After the fall semester, we had 15 students that had failed Algebra 1, unfortunately. But rather than simply continue on to the second semester of algebra, the district and board supported us with some direct financial support to run an Algebra Restart class. And we're happy to report that out of the 15 students in the class, 12 of them are passing the fourth grading period. And though it's still early, we're definitely excited by their successes so far. That is about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our Casa Grande rep.
Hi, I'm Chris Cole again. This year, United Anglers Group successfully raised over 34,000 steelhead trout that will be later released in the Russian River. United Angler students also had their first endangered Adobe Creek Opsies trout rescued and safely relocated. The art department is currently working with Petaluma Art Center to assemble a show of K-12 artwork. This work is done both independently and within our classes. The show opens March 16th at 6 p.m. Please come out and see all of our students' work on display at our beautiful art facility. The Read 180 class was granted booster funds in order to purchase more books. The students in the class are enthusiastically consuming the books, and their reading skills are rapidly increasing to the point where all students in the class will be advancing next year. After viewing the inauguration, the study skills class wrote letters to President Barack Obama. This was an engaging lesson for most of the students, and they were excited to get a response that arrived this week. The Liberal Studies juniors will be hosting the first, hopefully annual, LS Radio Night on May 2nd in the library, where they will present their senior project to the community. This will be excellent practice for the following year's senior project. Advanced Placement junior English students have wrapped up their study of Orwell's 1948, which community with a project that takes an in-depth look at the role of Big Brother in our lives. The Gotcha Gazette journalism students have continued to meet their deadlines and produce an excellent newspaper under the leadership of their fabulous editors-in-chief, Ichacho Gray, Gabby Fleischman, and Camille Gasser. The class looks forward to attending the JEA NSPA National Journalism Convention in April. The honors biology classes have worked on their ecology unit these past 6 weeks. They have read Rachel Carson's Silent Spring and have completed an in-class simulation of a trucking accident that caused a chemical spill as well as an oil contamination of a waterway. They experienced working with real materials to remove oil from water as well as techniques to restore an environment. This project culminates on the 20th of the month with group presentations in front of a professional panel representing 3 colleges and various community groups. The concert choir has had a really successful concert in January. There were 20 CASA students chosen for the Sonoma County Honor Band, and the concert in January went really well. This past weekend, 13 band students and 8 choir students participated in the North California Honor Band and Select Choir weekend held at Humboldt State University. The concert was amazing. The CASA Music Department would like to invite the school board to the annual Jazz Dinner Dance, which we held on Saturday, March 2nd, which already happened. Currently in my 10th grade English classes, we are working on analyzing the motifs and themes evident in the play Macbeth. Furthermore, students have been working on understanding the difference between denotation and connotation, hence exploring the power of words. In 12th grade English courses, students are reading the novel One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and making connections to expository text. Students have been given the task to find an article that connects to one of the topics evident in the novel, annotating the article, and then crafting a written response which they share during small group discussions. Additionally, my senior classes are working towards the completion of their senior projects and will soon be introduced to the senior project presentation requirements. We just finished our annual GQ show. Congratulations to Nick Marks, the winner of Mr. GQ, and his escort Jake Omering. Students are now raising money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. We will be pieing ASB officers at lunch Thursday, Pie Day, in order to raise money. I am unfortunately one of those seniors.
Thank you very much.
I did get to see the CASA Jazz Band actually, not on the 2nd, but last Saturday at the Petaluma Host Line, so that's okay. They were fabulous. And Petaluma High School.
And what was the day of the pie?
This Thursday, the 14th, it'll be at lunch.
Anybody can come.
I think it's close campus.
Good answer.
They gave me this little ID card. All right, let's take a quick, as promised, 2-minute break. Anybody that needs to leave, please go ahead and do so now. If you'd like to stay, we'd love to have you. A lot of good stuff coming up. Please.
Okay, do you need to actually say the official words?
Yes.
Okay.
Now you kind of ruined the moment. Steal his thunder.
You know I'm on a roll today, what can I say? Okay, so tonight, real quick, second interim report. And I know you have other more important things to be at very shortly, so.
I don't, I've got all mine.
Is that right? Oh, I'm sorry. All right, so in the current year, at the first interim report, we had a positive 11 ADA, and after looking at our most current information on attendance, we adjusted that down. So we're showing a -4 overall for the entire year, so that's pretty good. However, we are using prior year ADA for the elementary group because of the kindergarten transition over to Cherry Valley. So the next year we're anticipating still about 80 ADA increase, and then in the subsequent year 34. So it's kind of nice. We're on an uphill swing here. Second interim updates. There was a $1.7 million change in the unappropriated fund balance. The revenue limit adjustments, partially due to the ADA change that I just shared with you, is included in that. Also, we get funding for unemployment insurance, and so as that fluctuates up and down, the revenue also goes up and down. So that's also accounted for in part of that $341,000. Audit adjustments are reflected in the report as well. We missed a transfer to the deferred maintenance fund of $278,000. And then also we had prior year adjustments of $254,000 related to revenue limit. We had an increase of salary and benefits of about $404,000, but actually we still have some vacant positions budgeted that won't be filled, and so we'll be making those adjustments. Actually, salary and benefits adjustments after this, really net to almost zero. So they were pretty right on. There's a $217,000 encroachment. That's due to adjustments in the special ed revenues. As we get them, we update that. However, what we haven't done yet is do a full analysis of the transportation side. All the transportation changes that we made in the current year, I believe actually that encroachment actually will go down by about $300,000. So I expect that to go back down. As you know, last year we offered an early retirement incentive, and so we made one payment this year, and we have one more payment scheduled for 13-14, and so I have included that as part of our reserve, and then that goes away for next year because it's budgeted, but that's part of it. Let's see. The other updates, COLA updates. In 13-14, the projection has gone down from 2% to 1.65%, and in 14-15 down from 2.3 to 2.2, and as you know, that creates really significant fluctuations in our revenue projections. So on the multi-year projections, on the local control funding formula, we've heard differing opinions, so I didn't feel comfortable incorporating that into this interim report. So instead, I've just assumed that the COLA would be funded for next year and the subsequent year. We're adding, in this scenario, this projection, you'll see that we've added back 5 days or school days. So we're going back from 175 school days to 180 and adding back 3 staff development days. And obviously this is all negotiable, and we are currently negotiating, and now that CSEA has submitted their proposal, we'll begin negotiating with them as well. But adding back those days cost $1.8 million to do that. So here's what our trends look like with all these factors included. Just under $64 million in revenue in the current year, $66 million in expenses, but a lot of that is prior year expenses, one-time carryover being added to the budget. There's about $1 million in operating deficit spending in the current year. So that the netted against the beginning balance, our projected ending balance is about $9.6 million. And then the reserve component, that includes our 3% reserve, that includes the restricted component of dollars and for like parcel tax. The largest, a very large component of that is parcel tax. Leaving our unappropriated reserve at $5.6 million. So in 13-14, as I said, we're adding back the 8 days. We haven't included any additional adjustment for any health benefit increase in either year. But by adding back those days, you can see in 14-15, we wind up with a net unappropriated amount of just over $500,000. So, no, not a lot of money, but we're also, I feel like we try to be fairly conservative. And obviously, as we look at our out years, if we find that we're upside down, we address it a lot sooner than later. And also, I think our numbers are very conservative. There's projections out there that show that we will be getting a lot more money, but we're very hesitant in doing that. So hopefully this is conservative. So, as I promised, short, sweet, to the point. Any questions?
You mentioned that in May that the governor's revising come out. Do we have any indication as to whether the legislature will try to address the local control funding formula?
We're hearing a lot of positive about that. The legislative analyst supports it. Other groups are supporting it. K-12 is really in support of it. But again, it's going to go back to whether or not they address it as a budget and basically as one package deal, or whether or not they start picking it apart as a policy issue, in which people come in and say, oh no, you can't touch that program because otherwise this group will get ignored and they'll fade away into the
And do
sunset.
we have any idea how this could impact our budget? Yeah.
Well, no, not yet, and that's why I didn't incorporate it into the second interim. I felt that it was,
Too many unknowns.
there are, and actually when we looked at, I did look at the numbers that are out there, and as you saw, the COLA is 1.65. Well, the numbers that are out there under the Department of Finance shows an increase under the elementary revenues of over 3%. And then when I looked at the secondary element, they are up by 2.1%. So that's why I felt more comfortable sticking with, well, I'll just apply the COLA to our existing revenues and leave it at that. And that's not even on all the revenues, that's just on the revenue limit. Obviously, we've been budgeting flat under all the flexible funds of the Tier 3, and we haven't budgeted any increase. So just don't feel comfortable. School Services of California is saying that the Department of Finance numbers are not right. And I haven't had a chance to look at what model they have and run our numbers through that process. So I'm hoping for more information. I know that the subcommittee met discussing the local control funding formula, but I don't know any details about what they think of it. So we'll see.
No more in May.
Yes.
A couple of quick ones. First of all, what's our special ed deficit from the state and the feds? What do they owe us? I mean, we have to pay,
Oh,
but what, the whole 40% is supposed to be funded, we get 17%.
right.
Expressed as a number, what is that? Do you have an idea?
Off the top of my head, it's several $1 million.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I would have to look, but it's millions of dollars.
And that's between what the state and the feds are, right?
Yeah.
And then Prop 30, okay, everybody jumps
Mhm.
on, yeah, Prop 30, and then along comes the sequester.
Yes.
So I know that's kind of the big elephant in the room right now, but
Mhm.
do you have any feel for the impact of that?
We estimate that it could be around $300,000 in the current year, and
Net loss,
about,
guys?
yeah, if they don't do something to correct it. So that would be in the current year, and that's about 5%, and then it would be about 8% for next year. So,
But the total amount from the
mhm,
federal.
of the federal funds.
And is any of that categorical or?
It all is.
It all.
It's all
So
in
it's
the
gonna be
restricted
specific
column.
program.
Right, so we would have to basically put a stop to spending, basically no more supplies or whatnot, and possible layoffs, depending on whether or not the school sites have those funds allocated strictly to personnel.
And what is our current, I mean, when you take in our labor component with our benefits and healthcare, and then what's restricted, what is the percentage against our gross budget, gross income? of
Oh, it's,
Truly unrestricted funds, what is that expressed as a percentage? Of money that isn't spoken for labor, healthcare, pensions?
oh,
the
you mean
category
after
of-
that,
yeah,
after
when
everything?
it's all
After
said and done.
everything. We're in the neighborhood of about 85+% for just salaries and benefits
Mhm.
of our entire budget.
But of that other 15, I mean, how much is truly discretionary?
Truly discretionary? Not very much at all.
I mean, 5%, 3%?
Actually, right now, with us negative, our negative operating deficit is about $1 million, so really we're in the negative at this
So
point.
$1 million over 65 million.
Because we don't have funded COLAs, we have been cut on the revenue limit side, so.
See, I think most people don't understand
mhm,
about how little we have discretionary funding. Okay.
mhm.
Just the local control funding formula will give
It's meant to
board
address that.
discretion
Mhm.
at the board level, but
We'll get up to 2 million.
yeah, it still will not be, not very much, especially after you look at, you know, your utilities and everything else to operate the school district, little discretion.
Right, very, very little, so.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Mitch.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Let's move on to approval of the minutes, Sue, the 26th of February and the March 5th. Is there anybody eligible? I think we all are. aren't we?
When is it?
February 26th, March 5th. Everybody was here? Okay, so let's go to the 26th. Motion? Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
On the 5th?
Second.
We've done this before, come on.
We didn't our chairs tonight, we don't know which one the voice is supposed to
I
fight.
got us so moved.
She seconded, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. All right, moving to item I, comments from the public. I know for sure we have one speaker, and I don't believe you are our auditor,
Yep.
I suspect.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so then I've got one card. Perfect. So I have spoken with Mr. Villarreal on the phone, so I'm not going to take the time to read through this because I've read through it to you on the phone and you've read it as well, as far as rules and
Yes.
logistics for public comments. Yeah, so would you please come on up and introduce yourself, please, and also we need your address for the record. And thank you for bringing it.
My name is George O'Leary. I live at 1636 Yarberry Drive in Petaluma. I have been a resident of Petaluma for 45 years. And I want to start by saying, thank you for the opportunity to voice my concerns tonight. I have 2 items I would like to ask for your assistance. One is the transition of my daughter to an alternative school. I've been working on this, and during this process, there have been some difficulties that have led me to my second item, and that is a review of the special education program. My item 1, I would like to sort of give you a quick overview of why I'm asking for a transfer for the alternative school. 2 weeks, excuse me, 2 weeks before my daughter's 5th birthday, she went into cardiac arrest. She has been diagnosed with CPVT. It's catecholaminergic polypheric ventricular tachycardia. It's a big, that's why I say CPVT. But I've got a printout for you guys, so it explains it. Which is a condition that results in ventricular rhythm problems that can lead to sinoscopes of sudden death. She has been fitted with an ICD implant. It's a pacemaker defibrillator. Her learning disabilities and small motor skills abilities are directly related to her cardiac arrest event from the lack of oxygen to the brain for a short period of time. She was actually had to been defibrillated by the paramedics 3 times before her heart went back to normal sinus rhythm. We're just fortunate they left we're so close to the fire department. She's been an RSP student in the Wall School District at Meadow for 6 years in the IEP program, which we worked through many challenges. She currently is a student at Kenilworth Junior High in the 8th grade. During her time at Kenilworth, we have had multiple problems with the IEP program, implementation, and the situations that she was put into that were compromised to her medical condition. We have tried to talk to the teachers, we've met with the principal, counselor, and we brought these issues up at our IEP meetings, and we feel that the school has good intentions, but they cannot follow through with the proper implementation of the IEP program and is not meeting state standards to our belief. I have a handout for you of my letter of consideration that lists some of the concerns that were presented to the transition team with the request of a transfer to Valley Oaks for her 9th grade, starting her 9th grade year into high school. Our request has been denied due to her IEP. We will be contesting this decision along with her IEP evaluation. Being a parent of a child with a learning disability, enhanced with a medical condition that is life-threatening, is very challenging. And this has led to the secondary items. I've been very disappointed, and it's very frustrating trying to understand the process to make sure the school is providing the necessary special education programs. I understand you cannot answer or comment to my questions tonight, but would appreciate if you would take the time to look into. One is, what regulations or guidelines does the school follow? Is it the California State Education Code for special education programs? The No Children Left Behind? And is there any Title I schools in the district? And the Children's with Disabilities Act. In my personal research, all these seem to work together to make sure that there are many opportunities to cover the variances and the different types of student needs. One of the other questions is, what department in the district is in charge of special education program? I ask this because I feel in this process I should have been directed to that person to help assist with the problems we've been having, and it hasn't happened. Question 3 is, who within the department interprets the regulations and makes sure that you are in compliance? I've read over these, and many of them I've read, the No Children Left Behind, I've read the State Education Code, I've read the Disabilities Act, and it almost takes a lawyer to interpret some of these, just like everything else. So it is very confusing, and it's understandable that there's a lot of different variances in there. Are we applying, or with these programs, there seem to be funds available for to supplement the cost for aids, equipment, and special programs. Are we applying for these supplemental funds? If so, how are these funds being allocated? What department in the district oversees the IEP programs? What is the percentage of special education students to mainstream students in the district? Is the teacher-student ratio for special needs students within the standards? And do these teachers meet the state standard? It's 6111. Has there been any district-wide evaluation of the IEP program? And I would recommend an IEP evaluation feedback from parents of RSP students. In my experience with the IEP, assessments are made on an individual learning disability, but the requirements when it comes to the implementation for the students are grouped together and their individual needs are rarely met. How do we overcome these obstacles to make sure the IEP is followed? And how can we prevent a RSP student from being placed into a mainstream class due to scheduling conflicts with minimal assistance? My daughter got stuck in a science class, with very little help at all. She has fine motor skill issues. The last project they just had, they had to build a air-powered car. She has small motor skill problems. She was set with another child that is an RSP student that has similar issues. And they failed the project, basically. and they were given no assistance whatsoever in the class. And the teacher in that class, in a discussion with him for a prior incident, made the point that was concerning to me is, we know we have kids that fall through the crack. She's getting a D, and he stated that was good enough because she was passing. And that's not acceptable, in my opinion. In my experience dealing with the matters stated above, my frustration comes from the lack of written guidelines or procedures to explain the process. While trying to find out the process, explaining my position, I was told by one member to keep my emotions out of it, and the school district knew what was best for my child. The person I spoke with stated that he had a child in special education, and he knows how it is. This came from a person that has had no background, to my knowledge, of my daughter's medical condition, nor was he interested in listening. He denied a request to meet with me to discuss this, and he was part of the process that denied my daughter the transfer that we asked for. I have to ask, can the district come up with the guidelines to assist parents to navigate through the special education program to ensure that the children, that their child is getting the best opportunity of a proper education? And that's stated by both the State Education Code, No Children Left Behind, and the Disability Act. In conclusion, and like I say, thank you for your time. As a parent, I'm advocating for my child to make sure she gets educated that she deserves. We are committed and loving parents that have tried numerous strategies to engage the school into participating in meeting IEP requirements so that our daughter can perform at the highest level. Our daughter is frustrated because she wants to perform at a higher level. Something is wrong when a school doesn't embrace a student or parents that are involved and committed to provide the best possible education for their child. And so I thank you for listening, and I hope to see some of these on the next agenda.
Thank you.
What I added here also was the handout I gave to the transition regarding some of the issues. And this is actually what I'm talking about tonight, so it's all in writing.
Thank
Oh,
you.
very good. And in the telephone conversation that I did have with Mr. OLeary, I explained to him the Brown Act, public comment, that, we very gratefully take all public comment, something that's not on the agenda. We normally don't make any kind of a decision or have
Yeah,
a
I understand
discussion.
that.
So I just want to make sure everybody was ready.
And I'm following the other policies and procedures with the other issues we have at hand to do it in the proper manner. But, I mean, there is a guideline for that, but I couldn't find any guideline for what I need. Thank you for your time.
I understand. Thank you very much. All right, so let's move to item J, reporting activities and correspondence, school board members. Looks like we got some athletics, some softball, some baseball, some tennis, and the Petaluma Host Lions Project grad fundraiser at the Veterans Hall featuring the jazz bands from CASA and Petaluma High School. And I think you spoke there, right?
Yes.
And it was quite
It
enjoyable.
was very good, yes.
Okay. Let's go to the consent agenda, item K. Consolidated motion. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of the consent agenda? Aye. Opposed? That knocks out a whole bunch of this meeting right there. Let's go to business services item 6. It is a hold item, agreement authorization, the recommended motion. The board authorized entering into an agreement with Environmental Geology Services, Inc. in the amount of $22,945 via special reserve funds for case closure activities at the Petaluma Bus Yard underground storage tank site.
Second.
Who wants it?
I'll take it. So
I see a little back and forth there.
We had an underground storage tank that was taken out in the 1980s and has been monitored ever since. And now the water district is ready to close out the site because they see it as a low-risk site. But we will have to do final reports and final testing to make that occur. So we're asking for entering into the agreement with Environmental Geology Services.
Are we in the super fund?
Yeah, we've been getting reimbursed
So we
for
get
all of our
reimbursed
expenses
dollar for dollar?
so far, and we'll submit this as well.
Okay.
So this is not the tank that the Regency folks removed for us? Did they remove?
No, they actually did some abatement, but they didn't get total closure on the site. So this is taking that and getting total closure on the site that they had intended to purchase but didn't.
Okay.
So you'll get reimbursed from the super fund and then tag Regency?
Regency actually
Just kidding, don't.
Regency was paying for all of the costs up front, then they got reimbursed from the super fund. This will be our expense and we'll submit for reimbursement from the super fund.
Okay.
Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 7, recommend a motion that the board authorize entering into an agreement with, and I can never pronounce these guys.
Torquay Quack.
What you said, in the amount of $30,300 via elementary developer fee, capital facilities funds for architectural services for the new portable childcare building at McKinley Elementary School.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
So this is an old building that we're taking out and replacing with a newer, it's an old modular facility, we're taking out and replacing with a newer modular facility. Currently, it's being used for the ACES program, the after-school program ran by the Boys and Girls Club.
But where's the fee coming from?
Capital facilities funds are the developer fees for new facilities on campuses.
And who do we pay those to? The developer fees, who's it?
They get paid to us for new development in our community.
Okay, so we'll net positive 30,000 on this?
We will, no,
We're using those funds.
we will use those funds to pay the $30,300. The fees that we've collected to pay.
But who are we paying the fees to?
Oh, Torquay Quack for
Okay, I want to make sure it wasn't like a city of Petaluma, it's not a pass-through?
No.
No.
Okay, this is for their services.
And Steve and I did have a conversation quickly about, gosh, that's a lot of money for.
Good.
And I had the same concern and went in and looked at, there's a lot of engineering that has to occur to provide the utilities to the site.
Yeah.
So this is like, is it the same site?
It is, but we're adding, water to this, so there's water and sewer that doesn't exist.
Oh.
I don't think that there's a general understanding of how difficult it is for schools to build anything.
Right, and then to take it through DSA for
I looked to
a new module.
baseball dugouts at Petaluma High School.
Yes.
Really?
Crazy, absolutely crazy.
Okay.
So, sad that it's that much.
Take it off.
Yeah, that stuck out to me too.
It's a lot of money.
It stuck out to me
Yeah.
too, and I questioned it
All right.
and reviewed it.
Okay.
Item 8,
Wait, you gotta take the vote on that.
oh, excuse me, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Reluctantly, aye. Item 8, award of a bid, recommend a motion that the board award bid number 0113 E-rate project for wireless at McKinley and McDowell Elementary Schools to AMS.net Inc. in the amount of $255,351.43, and the superintendent be authorized to approve change orders up to 10% and accept the work as being complete.
So moved. Second.
So
Did you guys sleep over there?
No, it's your turn, you gotta get to do this.
Who's getting this one?
I'm going to take this one. So awarding this is really contingent on us being eligible to get the E-rate refund to afford this project. So the district out of cost will be about $20,000 to perform this project. So we'll move forward with it as long as we receive the E-rate funds.
So
And
this
we'll
is a
know this
subject
in
to-
July.
This is a subject to.
Yes.
If you get the money, then we'll do it. If you don't get the money, we don't.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 9, Gateway to College Academy.
We'd like to pull that from tonight's meeting. The required public hearing that we'll have at a later date.
Okay. Item 10, certification of second interim report. Recommend a motion that the board approve a positive certification that the Petaluma City Elementary and Petaluma Joint Union High School districts will be able to meet their financial obligations at year end. I believe
Discussion.
we've had this discussion. Does anybody have any other questions?
It's like when Rich had that look on her face.
That was a don't do it to me
Yeah,
look,
yeah.
wasn't it? Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nobody? And you are hereby certified.
Thank you.
Item 11, the audit report. 2012 audit report. Recommend a motion that the board accept the 2012 independent auditor's report, which includes the review of the district's budget findings, recommendations, and corrections by, is it Stephen or Stephen?
Stephen.
Stephen Roach, Accountancy Corp.
So moved.
Second.
Great. I'd like to introduce Steve Roach to address the board with regard to the 2011-12 audit.
Thank you for your patience throughout the rest of the
Good
meeting.
evening, no problem. What I'm going to do is go through the report rather quickly and tell you what I think is important to board members, and then I'll be happy to stick around as long as you like and go through anything in the report. Page 1 of the audit is the independent auditor's opinion on financial statements. And this opinion is what's called an unqualified opinion, which means that the financial statements contained within this report are presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. It is the best opinion you can receive on your financial statements and one you'd like to see each year. Next, I'm going to jump back to pages 14 and 15. And these two statements here are the only two statements that you have not previously seen as part of your unaudited actuals that you approved back in September. These are both government-wide statements, meaning that it's all governmental and proprietary funds of the district combined into a single statement, similar to a business entity. Page 14 is the statement of net assets, which is nothing more than a balance sheet that's prepared on a full accrual basis. It also includes the capital assets of the district as well as all long-term liabilities of the district, which are not reflected in your fund financial statements that you normally approve. On the facing page, statement of activities, it's basically an income statement, once again, government-wide, all funds combined. And the purpose of this was when they implemented GASB 34, is they wanted to provide you with one statement where you could look at the district as a whole and say, okay, are we better off or worse off from an accounting standpoint than we were in the prior fiscal year? If you look at the right bottom corner, up 3 items, you'll see change in net assets. And this year it was a decrease of $445,000. So overall, it's considered that over time, if it's decreasing, that the district is declining slightly. Now, I happen to know in this number here that there's approximately $5 million of depreciation expense that's charged against your books each year, which is a non-cash charge. So based on the fact that your buildings are now 1 year older, they're considered less valuable from an accounting standpoint. So if you took that factor out, your net assets would actually have increased by $5 million, basically. So I wouldn't be overly too concerned. This is not any statement we want to look at and make your financial decisions based on. It's more of this that informational thing that you kind of, okay, eyeball it. Next, I'm going to return back to page 65. Page 65 is the reconciliation of the annual financial and budget report, what you call the unaudited actuals, to the financial statement balances that are included in your financial statements. Now, you will see that there were adjustments in 6 different funds this year, which is more than you would typically want to see in your report. And it's very much not characteristic of how your reports typically look here. And we'll discuss that later when we get back to the findings and recommendations section, but at this point, I wouldn't be overly concerned with this. On the following page, page 66, is the schedule of financial trends and analysis, which shows general fund information for the past 3 fiscal years, as well as the 2012-2013 original budget. If you look right in the center of the page, you will see that in the 11-12 year, the fund balance in the general fund actually decreased by about $281,000. In both of the prior 2 years, you had increases of $500,000 and $1.3 million. If you look right in the very center of the page, you'll see available reserves as a percentage of total outgo. Currently, at June 30, you had a reserve of 14.7%, which is well above the 3%, but in no way excessive based on the current state of the economy. As far as long-term obligations, you have $67 million outstanding at June 30, 2012. Approximately 95% of that total is based or is compiled of certificates of participation and bonds, general obligation bonds, which are financed by RDA funds and property taxes of the individuals within the district. So overall, your debt on your general fund is not that significant. Your ADA is generally stable. There was a slight decrease, but it sounds like you might be picking some of that up in the current fiscal year, so that's good. Next, I'm going to have you go clear back to page 79 or 80. And this is the start of the findings and recommendations section. Just a little history. Our firm actually did the audit for the first time in this start of a new contract period, but we have audited the district for 6 years prior to the previous 6 years. So we are well aware of the capabilities of your staff and so forth, because everybody's pretty much the same individuals. We do have a lot of comments in here that you might have noticed, more than you probably had in the past. There were 24 findings in this report here. Of those, 16 are internal control related, 1 was federal compliance, and 7 were state compliance. Now, I'm not going to go through it in detail and address all these different things. I just want to point out a few things. Now, although there are 24 findings included in this report, what it mostly comes down to is staffing issues and accounting system issues. The accounting system issues are in process of being resolved. We are still going to have some difficulties with the upcoming year audit because we're still on the old system.
When you say accounting system issues, are you talking about computer systems?
We're talking about the Munis program that they use for doing all of the business accounting as far as all the fund accounting.
You're talking about IT?
Yes.
It's not the system of accounting, is it?
Not yet, exactly. It's the
Doing what?
actual computer system that you're trying to utilize to produce your records.
Okay.
And, this system, it's the most difficult system I've ever dealt with in my life. And I have more concerns about other districts that are now going to it down in Contra Costa County this next year. At least I can see the light for you guys. You guys are going back on the escape system. And that program, it started off kind of weak when it first came out. But there have been substantial changes to that program, and that's what the rest of the districts in your county are using. And it is a much easier program to audit, and it'll streamline a lot of the different activities in your business office, and that's going to help out a lot as far as getting things done in a more timely manner. So that was one of my biggest concerns and one of the most difficult things that we experienced during this year. It's very difficult to audit when you can't print out reports to see what the numbers are. The other issue is staffing. This past year there were turnover in key positions in payroll and so forth, which that added to the problem with that is being the only district on this system, you couldn't really pull from other districts to have them come in and assist. So a lot of people in the business office were having to get, roll up their sleeves and get involved in payroll and everything, which they typically would not have to do. And I think that the vast majority of your problems, as far as findings in this report, were staffing issues. I mean, just coming here and auditing and trying to find people who could help you that we're not trying to put out fires, on a daily basis, was very difficult. And, like I say, I've worked with people in your business office before. I know that their capabilities, and I know that this is not reflective of how they typically do things. I know that people are very, proud of the work that they do, and they take great pride in it. And for me, it's difficult to see that when I see someone I know they know how to do this, and they're not being able to do it because they're picking, what things they can address based on the time that they have. And if I can say anything at all, the staffing is your one issue that really needs to be addressed in the business office. I think you have a great staff in place, and if they get the assistance, all of these issues, or the vast majority of these issues, can easily be taken care of in the future. As far as findings that have any significance here, there were only 2 findings that actually had question cost. One of them was dealing with kindergarten retention, which is just a simple form that was not completed. That one's difficult because you provided the service to the student. However, the state will not waive that finding. So there's a decrease of $4,000, which is not overly significant. It hurts more so because you actually provided the education to that student. And all it comes down to is a form that was not the right form.
So we're out $4,000 because we didn't complete a form and send it to the state.
It's not, you basically retain it, basically. It's a retention form that the state approves, and if you don't use their form, basically you cannot claim attendance for that student.
And that's for retaining a kindergarten student only.
Yes, and that was limited to one site. The district has distributed this in the past, and I think 6 years ago we had an issue when we first came into the district, and somehow somebody had not thrown away the old form or something, and that's what got picked up and used, so.
So I meant to ask that question somewhat in a sarcastic manner
Yeah.
to illustrate
Sure.
the idea that we're out $4,000 because we didn't fill
We used an
the
old form.
right
We used an
form
old
out
form.
correctly. To double down on the idea of the burden of the paperwork requirements from the state to get our $62 million.
Yes, and that's why, I mean, that's not a very big amount, but it's,
No, but
it's a
it's-
darn shame to lose something for
It's
something
American.
like that.
that thing, that's the word.
The other one that we had here was about $42,000, and basically that was just dealing with the fact that you had a new charter school in place, and there are adjustments you have to make to the prior year ADA of the district, and that adjustment was not made. So it's basically, you were double counting the ADA, once at the charter and once at the district, so we're saying, okay, you have to give back one and it. So, once again, that doesn't hurt as bad because it really wasn't your money, it was purely just making everything where it should belong. So, you know, like I said, there's a lot of good things to look forward going forward. There were a lot of findings included in here dealing with prior year errors. If you had a chance to look at the report regarding the bond transactions. So, you know, that is all brought up to speed at this point. Everything reconciles to the accounting office records, and we're going forward with good numbers at this point. Since it was involved in restatements in our report, we're required to have findings in the report to identify those. But like I say, most everything that's in here was basically staffing related, just, you know, not having the time to do the job that they know they can do. So I feel very positive about that, and if we can get someone in here, the sooner the better. And once the accounting system is on the new system, I think that's going to be very positive for the district as well. Last year, there were 5 findings included in the report, and we basically show all of those as being implemented to our satisfaction. So that's typically what I like to look at a district. It's not bad that we brought things to your attention, that's kind of our job. But we like to see that people are actually addressing those things when we bring them to your attention. So that's positive, and next year I would be very surprised if it looks anything like this report this year. I think it was going to leave.
With the exception of the fact that we're still on the same system and we're still short-staffed, so there are going to be some repeat findings because of that.
Well, we hope not. We're interviewing actually tomorrow. Hopefully we'll find a viable candidate.
But it's still, we're 3/4 of the way through the year, we're gonna have to hire somebody for the last
The
one.
fact that we've had to cut across the district staffing levels because of the budget issue is
So we've had a
hopefully,
vacancy that we've attempted to fill throughout the course of the last year and a half and haven't filled. with
And
qualified
the one
persons.
thing I'd like to point out also, and I did include it in the funding here, is the business office, you know, they always want to do their share of cutbacks as well, but sometimes it's not in the district's best interest to cut in the business office, because when things go bad, the workload goes up. Basically, in the business office, they've been dealing with the fact that the state budget is changing. Every 2 months is a change. So they have to go, and then it's not just one district, you have 2 districts and 3 charter schools. So all of that stuff has to get updated. And the way it's been changing recently, I mean, you spend all day long in meetings, say, how are we gonna adjust for this? Where are we gonna make these cuts? And it's just very, very difficult to address that issue. But like so much of this, in this report though, a lot of it was on prior year errors. So all of those should just go away. There were a few things that were current year, but there were not anything that could not be fixed. You know, now it's been brought to your attention and it can be fixed readily. I'm sure there will be a few findings. It's not just gonna all go away, and I don't wanna give that impression, but I would think that you're well poised to make significant improvement going forward.
Couple questions. And just throwing out there. How many people are in the business office right now? How many people do you have?
We have 8.
8 people in the business office.
Mhm.
I was just trying to think of a business you could find that
Well,
has-
we have 7, but one has been vacant.
Yeah.
So you have 7 bodies that are current.
Right, we have 8 positions.
So I mean, I'm just trying to think of a business you could find that had 7 people running the business side of it, the financial accounting side of it, that has 950 employees and $60-some million worth of the budget and expenditures. And I challenge anybody to find that in the private sector anywhere. I mean, it's just not gonna happen, and you're exactly right in my opinion, that's how stuff falls through the cracks when, you know, we try so very hard, I think, as a board, I'm talking about trying to keep all the cuts far away from the classroom as we can, as far away from the classroom as we can, but there is regrettably a product of that sometimes, that when you do that, other things don't get done. And that can be as
Well,
much or worse of a problem.
Especially if the state keeps stacking on increasingly, I think, worthless accounting requirements. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm a private sector guy, he's a private sector. This stuff looks like nothing I've ever seen, and I'm a business law attorney. I'm looking at this like, who thinks that this stuff is important? And then the important stuff, it's like they just lump it together. It's amazing to me the amount of make work that this seems to indicate that we have to do from the state. And I don't know if you don't have to comment on that, I'm just commenting on for the public at large that that's part of the burden.
Absolutely.
Well,
And that
like the
doesn't.
wrong form for a kindergarten.
For
attendee.
kindergarten students.
And then like he said, when we have these other divisions within our district, the secondary, and with elementary.
Two districts.
I see 2 districts, and we got charter schools, that kind of complicates things.
Yeah.
And the system, I just want to point out the fact that we've been on a system that we purchased and used in other states. It was used by a district in the state prior to us getting on board with the system. But it's complicated it even further in that it hasn't adequately allowed us to upload to the state software on reports. And in reality, for the last 2 years, we've been working for the system as opposed to the system working for us and making it easier. It's made it more difficult. So the change to Escape is going to be a great relief to the department. The problem is when you're changing from a system to another system, you have to go through a transition, and that creates double work for a period of time as you're now doing entry into both systems. And payroll's going through that right now. And we will be using payroll for the entire 2013 year, but right now we're doing it in both systems. And the checks are getting ran in the old system, but the data is getting put into the new system so that when we make the conversion, the W-2s will be correct next year in the Escape system.
Yes, and it will be difficult the next 2 years. It's not gonna, just be all perfect when you implement that, and it's gonna take some time, but in the long run, you are gonna be very happy going on the system. I have talked to some individuals in Contra Costa County, and they're having the same issues that you guys have experienced in the past few years, and they're not using a lot of the different modules and the way they're supposed to be used. They're doing journal entries and posting things, and I'm just not looking forward to going at all.
Doing that on
Yeah, it's gonna be very difficult, and hopefully they can change and not wait around too long.
Is there any incentive at the state level for, if you're a high-performing school district on your audit, say you get very few changes, very few critiques, do they say, okay, that's a premium district so we can lessen the accounting requirements, or is it just one size fits all? And
There's nothing like that at all. Basically, if you're good, half the time you almost end up worse off because you might have excess reserves and they might come after your reserves more so than other places. So yeah, it'd be nice if they had some incentives.
Yeah, I just wanted to add anything, because
Yeah, I'm not aware of
putting
anything.
that kind of work together.
Are you aware of anything, Mitch?
I just want to make sure that, at least for me, and I'm pretty sure I speak for everybody here, that I'm clear that my frustration with the reporting requirements that we have in no way is meant to denigrate the work that you do, because the work that you do is extremely critical. I just get frustrated that you have to do it. And I want to make sure that we're clear about that. And I think mainly because from, this side of the fence, you guys have done some unbelievable financial, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, moving, things around, making sure that we get reimbursement for things that we shouldn't get, properly applying for certain things that nobody else knew that were out there, to keep us in a situation where we are now, where we're not screaming broke like everybody else that seems to be in our neighborhood. And when you spend all of your time chasing your tail over a $4,000 form for a kindergartner, that keeps you from being able to do the things that I think are most important, which is trying to find creative ways to keep us afloat. So that's where the frustration comes from in that place only. So I just want to be clear about that.
And I'd also like to say for those at home that when you hear in the press about, well, we should only be spending money for the kids, it does take a staff of people to meet the payroll so the teachers and classified staff can get paid, and to do all of the work so that the funding comes from the state. And so when they say, you know, there's all those employees at the district, there really aren't all those employees at the district, and they're all working really hard. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows how hard.
Anybody have any other questions or comments for Stephen?
No.
Very comprehensive, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, all of those in favor of approving the audit?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? There we go. That was item number 11, wasn't it?
Yep.
Thank you. We don't need to talk about ADA, I think we saw that up there. Unless anybody would like to talk about it. I'm looking through here and I see nothing else. Is there any discussion on the board policies that anybody want to talk about? Administrative regulations? No? Future business calendar of activities, board members' consideration. Our next meeting is going to be April 9th, but Steve
I would
is
like
going
to
throw a
request
curveball at us right
that
now.
the board have a special meeting on the 26th. We have,
Of March?
2 weeks. It would have been a regular board meeting. We will get the agenda out on Thursday. And we're gonna have the Gateway Grant with the public hearing and the approval of the charter. And then, we also need to have a student expulsion hearing.
So how long do you think we need for this?
I would anticipate, I would allow an hour for the meeting.
I would like to have us consider having that meeting at 7 instead of 6.
I'm fine with changing it to 7 o'clock. It's a special meeting, so whatever works
If you're only going to be an hour.
for the board.
You put stipulation on there also, did you hear that? If you're only gonna be an hour.
Yes. So we will find out if the person wants a hearing in open or closed session. It's their choice.
Okay.
And at this time, we don't know the answer to that, but having a meeting next week is better than holding that expulsion here in 2 weeks, is better than holding the expulsion over to the 9th of April.
That's not-
How does everybody's calendar look?
This is the 26th.
The 26th.
Yeah.
Does that work for
7
you,
o'clock.
Sherry?
The charter would be a 10-minute item
At
at
max.
most,
Okay.
at most.
Okay.
26, party at Troy's house.
8 o'clock.
At 8 o'clock. We get out.
26 works for me.
And then on the April 9th meeting, Tricia, are we going to be able to, we're shooting for on April 9th to come back with a study session for the board at the conclusion of the meeting on free and appropriate education for special education students and 504 and reasonable accommodations.
So they expect the meeting to go longer?
So at the conclusion of the regular meeting, we would go to a study session on, that Tricia will present on those items.
Can you have a shorter agenda then for us?
We'll shoot for a shorter regular agenda, moving into
Ask so much, don't we?
moving into a study session at the conclusion. And Tricia, you would like about 30 minutes for a study session?
Yes, that's about right.
Okay. We might have to
30?
join CSEA. I don't like these work conditions. Seem to be jamming us with a bunch of stuff.
So that's on the April 9th meeting.
Okay.
7 o'clock for the special meeting on the 26th.
Does that work for everybody?
7.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Make it work.
All righty.
Excellent.
And upcoming events we're not going to go through. You can read about them in public patrol. Public report action taken in closed session. Give it a shot of water.
And did you call those people and read that admonishment to them? I like the way you did the public hearing.
All right. So, let's do, I got 2 report outs. I'm gonna do, the first one is resolution 121321. Resolution 121321, during the previous closed session, the board adopted by a roll call vote resolution 1213-21 to give notice of release and reassignment to a certificated administrative employee effective with the 2013-2014 school year pursuant to Education Code Section 44951, and that was a 5-0 vote. Sue, do you need this, or do you have this?
I have that, unless there's anything else on it I need.
Okay, so now we've got some student disciplinary items, and just for those watching at home, I'll let you know that these were cases and situations that were presented to us in closed session, a whole set of facts, background, the incident, the whole thing. So when you see us take votes out here to do this, we're not doing it just based upon not knowing anything other than what I'm reading. We've actually heard the whole story, all right? Case 24, a case has been presented to the board that the student did commit an expellable act as defined by the California Education Code. The recommended motion is for the board to expel and to suspend the site discipline team's recommendation for expulsion in accordance with board policy and to allow continual enrollment in a district-operated school under mandated conditions. The student's suspended expulsion status will be in effect for the spring semester 2012-2013 school year and the fall semester of the 2013-2014 school year. Conditions above, subject to review with evidence of positive attendance, satisfactory behavior, substance abuse counseling program and screenings, community service, and appropriate academic performance.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
One abstain.
Oh, excuse me, one abstention. So we have a 4-0-1 on case 24. Case 25, a case has been presented to the board that the student did commit an expellable act as defined by the California Education Code. Recommended motion is for the board to expel and to suspend the site discipline team's recommendation for expulsion in accordance with board policy and to allow continued enrollment in a district school under mandated conditions. Students' suspended expulsion status will be in effect for the spring semester of the 2012-2013 school year and the fall semester of the 2013-2014 school year. Conditions above subject to review with evidence of positive attendance, satisfactory behavior, substance abuse counseling program and screenings, community service, and appropriate academic performance.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Abstain.
And we go 4-0-1 again. Case 26, a case has been presented to the board that the student did commit an expellable act as defined by the California Education Code. Prior disciplinary actions have been attempted and were not successful and or due to the nature of the act, the presence of the pupil causes a continuing danger to the physical safety of the pupil and others. The recommended motion is for the board to support the site discipline team's recommendation for expulsion in accordance with board policy and to facilitate enrollment in a county-operated community school. The student's expulsion status will be in effect for the spring semester of the 2012-2013 school year and the fall semester of the 2013-2014 school year. Conditions above, subject to review with evidence of positive attendance, satisfactory behavior, substance abuse counseling program, and monthly screenings, community service, and appropriate academic performance.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So that's 5-0. Case 27, the case has been presented to the board that the student did commit an expellable act as defined by the California Education Code. Prior disciplinary actions have been attempted and were not successful and or due to the nature of the act. Presence of the pupil causes a continuing danger to the physical safety of the pupil and others. The recommended motion is for the board to support the site discipline team's recommendation for expulsion in accordance with board policy and to facilitate enrollment in a county-operated community school. The student's expulsion status will be in effect for a full calendar year through February 28, 2014. Conditions above subject to review with evidence of positive attendance, satisfactory behavior, substance abuse counseling program and screenings, community service, and appropriate academic performance.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nobody opposed, 5-0. Case 28, a case has been presented to the board that the student did commit an expellable act as defined by the California Education Code. Recommended motion is for the board to expel and to suspend the site discipline team's recommendation for expulsion in accordance with board policy and allow continued enrollment in a district-operated school under mandated conditions. The student's suspended expulsion status will be in effect for the spring semester of the 2012-2013 school year and the fall semester of the 2013-2014 school year. Conditions above subject to review with evidence of positive attendance, satisfactory behavior, anger management, or life skills counseling program, community service, and appropriate academic performance.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. And finally, case 29, a case has been presented to the board that the student did commit an expellable act as defined by the California Education Code. Prior disciplinary actions have been attempted and were not successful and or due to the nature of the act, the presence of people causes a continuing danger to the physical safety of the public and others. Of the pupil and others. The recommended motion is for the board to support the site discipline team's recommendation for expulsion in accordance with board policy to facilitate enrollment in the district-operated community day school. The student's expulsion status will be in effect for the full calendar year through March 13th, 2014. Conditions above subject to review with evidence of positive attendance, satisfactory behavior, substance abuse counseling program and screenings, community service, and appropriate academic performance.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0 again. And that is the low light of the day. And with that being completed, I believe that completes everything on our agenda, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.